This week's episode is sponsored by the Whichside Collective Store. Right now, every shirt that you get, you will also get a free patch when you use promo code FREEPATCH.
So you can buy a shirt and get the same logo as a patch, so then you can put it on your awesome bag and rock them at the same time and be like, yeah.
Or you could get different ones.
Oh, yeah, you could do that too.
So you're not fashion clashing.
Yeah, I mean, or you can fashion clash. I'm cool with it.
Yeah, totally. Like you can have it on your hoodie, then when you take your hoodie off, boom, anarchy. Everyone knows you're an anarchist all the time.
I'm wearing a Whichside hoodie right now and a Whichside shirt, so I'm kind of fashion clashing.
Yeah, you are.
Heck yeah.
That's how you do it.
I'm always clashing, let's just be honest. Everything I'm doing.
I'm wearing blue shoes that are totally not in line with my outfit.
You're wearing a black belt and brown somewhere.
I'm wearing a brown belt.
Oh!
I'm wearing blue shoes, camo pants, and an animal liberation t-shirt that's gray.
You're a hardcore kid straight out of the 90s.
Right? That's what it looks like. With tattooed fucking leg sleeves.
So go get your shirt and a free patch. Whichsidecollective.org. Remember to use promo code FREEPATCH. This is episode 179.
Yeah, we talked with John Oberg from the Humane League.
You know, I wasn't super familiar with the Humane League, but I love everything they're doing. Every more I learn about what they're doing, I'm totally all about it. So stick around, listen to this. It's a really fun conversation. You know, and we talk a little bit about food. We don't do that too often sometimes. But, you know, we did. But then we got into the real meat of the stuff. Get it? Hey, Jordan, what news and events do we have going on this week?
Well, if you're in the Salt Lake area, come join us for the Anarchist Black Cross Prisoner Letter Writing Night. That'll be today, the day that this episode releases. So if you listen to this tomorrow, then you're out of luck, because we already did it.
You can still write a prisoner. There's no reason that you shouldn't be able to.
No, you can write a prisoner anytime, and you should, always. And if you can't write a prisoner and you prefer to donate, totally donate to support Nicole and Joseph. Kevin and Tyler are almost out. So, do it.
Help a prisoner.
This week's listener shout-out comes from Charlotte Maurich. Charlotte said we can shout out whatever we want. So this week, we're going to shout out No New Animal Labs.
You've heard us talk about them in the past. We've had them on before. We just love what they're doing. Go support them. Go find out what's going on in your area. And if there's nothing, find out what you can do.
They recently had a week of action, Storm Skanska, and you can find out anything. I think if you just go to their Facebook page, it's No New Animal Lab, and they also have a website, so check it out.
For the slingshot this week, April 11th, 1986. There were 17 people arrested on felony charges after police gas striking meatpackers in Austin, Minnesota.
The police gassed
the strikers and then arrest 17 people on felony charges. Yeah, 1986.
They kind of deserved gas.
Worker solidarity, man.
Worker solidarity. That's one of those gray areas.
If you like these little tidbits of history, pull them out of the Slingshot Personal Organizer. Go get one yourself. Get your shit organized. And you can learn a lot of awesome stuff. They have a directory of all radical groups across the world. If you find yourself in Sweden, you know, go check out Blitz in Oslo, Norway. They have their phone number and address and everything. Go pick yourself up the Slingshot at a local info shop or an online info shop like AK Press.
I really hope you enjoy this episode.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on? Which side are you on? Which side? Which side are you on? 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 Which side are you on?
Oh, so how's your day going?
It's going really well. Yeah. Just just in the process of moving out of the state of Michigan, so just wrapping some things up here. And yeah, having a good day. How about you guys?
Yeah, it's not bad. Can't complain. Or, I mean, you can always, right?
Yeah. Yeah, the idea is trying to avoid complaining, which is hard as animal advocates, knowing everything we know. But yeah.
I feel like anyone who's fighting for any social justice, you're always like looking in the face of what you despise. So it's easy to get, super down and depressed and nihilistic in a lot of ways.
Right. I agree. And it's always trying to combat that. And yeah, I think that if we were to be, nihilistic all the time to everybody we meet, I don't think we'd have a very good time persuading people to join us.
I get more nihilistic at things like potlucks. I'm that type of person. I'm just like, this isn't fucking doing anything. God damn it.
Yeah, I've been there. I know the feeling.
But it tastes good.
That's funny.
Then I'm always reminded that I'm not that good of a cook. I'm like, fuck all you people. You're so much better than me. They vegan so better than I can.
I know. I'm like totally a lazy vegan, and then I'll meet some like vegan foodie who's like cooking like this great meal. I'm like, I can see how this actually helps people go vegan. Or I'm just like, come on guys, just eat like tofurkey hot dogs. Like that, that's all you need. Forget about these all these complex raw things. Just eat some garbage like me and you'll be fine.
But let's be honest, the garbage that's out there, it's fucking delicious.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And it's way better now than it was even 5, 6, 7 years ago.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, try 20. Oh my God.
Yeah. I went vegetarian in 2009 and vegan actually the same year. And just since then, the last 7 years, I've noticed a big difference. Like I think Daiya cheese was new then, and everybody was like, "Oh my God, Daiya, that's the best thing in the world." Now we're like, Daiya, like who eats Daiya?
That's so funny because if you would have asked me in 2009, I would have been like, "Holy shit, this is amazing!" Like,
yeah.
You have no idea. Like, I couldn't even find soy milk 10 years ago.
Yeah, it's funny. I think it's a sign of our progress for sure.
I actually remember would have been 2009 or 2010 talking to my daughter. She was like 4 at the time. I'm like, you have no idea how good you have it. You can eat cookies whenever the fuck you want. Like,
yeah, that's awesome.
So where are you moving to?
I'm actually just going to hit the road, just travel around the country for a while.
Like sticking your thumb out traveling or having a plan?
Well, I have a car, so I'll be driving around. Yeah, heading west, I think first, and may actually swing through Salt Lake City. Yeah, looking forward to it.
What's driving that change just to hit the road?
Well, I used to travel quite a bit for work, and I loved it. And then in 2013, my mom got sick, and I made the decision to move back home and take care of her. I took care of her for about 2.5 years. She passed away in November, and I've known that when that day would come, that I would just kind of go see people I haven't seen in a while and just spend some more time on the road and just trying to start a new chapter in my life. So
Totally.
yeah. And luckily, with the work I do for the Humane League, I can work remotely. So, as long as I have an internet connection, all is golden.
Yeah, that's gotta be nice to be able to work remotely and then also be able to, fulfill that chapter in your life that you're looking forward to.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to this.
Do you have any other siblings or any other family?
No, my family is really small. I was the only child. It was mainly just my mom and I holding it down. So
That must be really fucking hard on you, like having to deal with all that yourself.
Yeah. I've had a great amount of support from friends, and the and the smallish family that I do have been supportive. But yeah, I mean, even like the vegan community have really helped me out and rallied around me a little bit during the tough time. So it's been great. I've always loved being part of the vegan animal advocacy community because I just felt like such a solidarity and a work for animals. And then for everybody to like throw their support behind my mom and I during her like battle with cancer, just made me get like a whole new level of respect and admiration for my fellow activists out there, and it's definitely meant the world to me and made everything significantly easier.
That's awesome that you had that support to help you get through that. That's one of my big fears with my daughter as well, because she's just an only child, and yeah, she's going to be stuck doing the same thing, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure you'll do a great job raising her to be the strong woman that she'll be one day.
You're giving me too much credit.
Yeah, I actually don't know you too well, so I could just be BSing.
if she does do that, that's totally my wife. Like yeah.
That's funny.
So you're literally just gonna hit the road. You have like no plans. Are you just I'm gonna drive and wherever I end up, that's where I end up?
Yeah, pretty much. Like I said before, a lot of my in addition to like the traditional like self discovery and just like wanting to just get this element of freedom. I want to see people I haven't seen in a long time. And I went to college in Arizona. A few of my really close friends live in Los Angeles, so I expect to spend some time in the Southwest. And then and yeah, travel's always been something important to me. I got bit by the travel bug as a kid reading that that turtle. Do you remember the children's book with the turtle who would like walk around with a knapsack over his shoulder? Do you guys know what I'm talking about or no?
I'm trying to think.
It's not ringing any bells for me.
It sounds familiar to me. I can't remember the name of it. Like Shelley
Okay.
comes to mind, but I don't know if that's it.
I think it starts with an F.
Franklin?
Franklin, that's right.
That's it. Okay.
Yeah. And like I don't know. I think just seeing like his like I think it's actually kind of horrible because I think in this story the turtle like runs away from home, and that's like not the element that I liked about the story. I appreciated like the freedom he like sought for himself, and I think like I just saw that when I was a kid, and I just got the idea of like train hopping and like so I've always had this like thought in the back of my head, and then around 7 or 8 years ago, I backpacked around Europe, and then ever since then I've just traveled every opportunity I've gotten. And so yes, I've had some roots, or I've had my feet planted here in Michigan for the last 3 years, and it's just ready to move on. And who knows? Maybe I'll find a city I really enjoy and just spend a significant amount of time there. But yeah, just kind of going with as little plans as possible, and just trying to live it up. Be a vagabond.
That makes me super fucking jealous. Because now every single time I drive to work at 6 a.m, I'm gonna pull up and go, "What the fuck is wrong with my life?" I'm gonna think of you and be like, "Well, I could be doing that, but nope."
That's funny. Other people have said that too, but I think it's important for all of us to remember that, like, it's within all of our grasps. Freedom is just what you make it. It's easier said than done, for sure, especially when you have like a family. It's not quite the same. But I do recommend a book that has nothing to do with animal advocacy, but everything to do with living well, and it's called Vagabonding: The Art of Long-Term World Travel. and it's just it's written by this guy named Rolf Potts. He's a travel author. Came out maybe 10 or 15 years ago. Super inspirational book. It's like part inspiration, part how-to guide. It's been kind of like my Bible for the last decade. And yeah, if you ever get the chance to read that, it's also an audiobook, and it's like 4 hours long. So if you gotta drive, next thing is long drive, I recommend checking that out.
So, what kind of like little secrets do you have for being vegan on the road?
Taco Bell. That's it, guys. Taco Bell, and when you're feeling sick of that, go to like a grocery store and just buy like a bunch of kale and just eat that, like with dipping that in hummus. And I'm only being like 30% sarcastic here, guys. I'm serious.
That's a lot healthier than us. When we were on the road, we'd eat like ramen noodles, peanut butter, and chocolate syrup. I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times
Cliff bars too.
Oh yeah, you can always do that.
Yeah.
I'm notorious for just buying a loaf of bread somewhere and getting peanut butter. Just shitty peanut butter sandwiches everywhere.
Nice, that's awesome. Yeah, I found that most places are, chain restaurants usually have options, and chain restaurants are everywhere. So unless you're like in the middle of Nevada, or the middle of Nebraska, like off of a freeway, you should be all right. I'd rather eat like something good, like something from the hot bar at Whole Foods, or like Sofrito's burrito from Chipotle. But sometimes it's got to be the Crunchwrap Supreme from Taco Bell. And by sometimes I mean most of the time.
So I hear a lot of people say that Crunchwrap Supreme. So do people just like sub out the meat and stuff, and it's okay to go?
Yeah, so I've ordered it so many times. I'll order it. I'll pretend like I'm ordering it right now. All right. Crunchwrap Supreme, sub beans for beef, add guacamole, add potatoes. Make that fresco style. So please, no cheese, no sour cream. Thank you. That's it. That's it. And about 40% of the time they mess up and they add cheese or sour cream.
Yeah.
Which is a major bummer. But yeah, it's definitely good in a pinch.
I was just gonna say, I'm the cheapskate. I always just go bean burrito, no cheese. Can I get a side of potatoes? Not Fiesta potatoes, potatoes. Nice. And just like less than good. $2, and you're good to go.
And then,
absolutely, yeah.
And I know about the secret menu item that's the Cantina veggie burrito.
Yeah,
which they took off. They took off the menu, but it's still available. You just get it fresco style, and you're good to go.
What's on it?
It's got rice and beans and pico.
The random rehydrated stuff that they have at Taco Bell.
It's
yeah. This is a combination of like all the vegan stuff.
It's pretty much like your power bowls that they have, but you just get you ask them for the veggie one, and it's not on their menu, but it works.
You got it for me once.
Well, it's like $5. It sucks.
Yeah, you got it for me once, and I was like, for the price, I'll just go for a bean burrito.
Yeah.
That's funny. So, I do love how Taco Bell comes out with a new thing every like 3 months, and it's always just like a combination of like two other things.
Yeah.
I do love the chalupa though. The chalupa is the best. I wish they had like a vegan version of the quesalupa or whatever that thing is that they just came out with.
I don't even know what language you're speaking right now.
I think it's like a quesadilla shell with with filling inside of it. I don't know.
It's like I think it's like a chalupa like wrapped around a taco with like cheese in the middle. So obviously not vegan, but I'm sure that maybe if we keep veganism growing at the rate it's growing, maybe 10, 15 years they'll carry some vegan cheese one day.
Speaking of chains and stuff, in Utah they're testing out the black bean burger at Wendy's.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, have you had it?
Yeah. It's an okay burger.
You guys sound excited about it.
So I am excited because it's such a great option for the road.
The road, it is a good option, but for the price, I would totally rather have something else.
I mean,
it's like $9 or something for the combo meal.
If you're getting a large.
What the fuck else are you gonna get at Wendy's? I'm not like going there for health.
I think it's like $4 or something for the burger itself, which isn't
Okay.
too bad. But it's honestly it's a fast food burger, and it's
Yeah.
what it is.
You have to have low expectations so you're not disappointed.
Yeah, I just hate the fact that you can't order it and have it be vegan. You still have to make changes on it.
Oh yeah.
Just
But
they understand
apologize.
to make it vegan style.
Yeah, I apologize to every vegetarian out there, but sometimes you're the bane of my fucking existence when it comes to ordering food, because like they just assume that if it's vegetarian that it's vegan as well in so many instances, and it just drives me insane. Just help out the other 3% of the population and just make it all the way vegan.
Yeah, yeah. I do. Speaking of veggie burgers, I do now recall like something I've been really excited about is just the fact that White Castle now offers veggie burgers.
Okay,
yeah,
I heard about this.
Yeah, I was in New York last month, and it was like 5 a.m, and like I was so hungry, and I was like, "What the hell am I going to eat?" It like, what am I? It was late night 5 a.m, not early morning 5 a.m. And I was like, "What am I going to eat?" And there's a White Castle right next to my hotel, and I was like I just saw like a golden halo around it. Just I thought I was in heaven, and yeah, they're good. They're good. They're a little. It's very strange. They went to the Dr. Prager's patty, which is a little weird because that's like one of the healthier patties, and that's like it's fucking White Castle.
Doesn't it have like lima beans in that patty or something?
I actually like that
Yeah.
burger.
I haven't had that in a long time.
Kind of tastes like a spring roll, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a spring roll. That's great. Yeah.
I like that one.
I always tell people, like, the first time they're going to eat a veggie burger, don't expect it to taste like a hamburger. It's not the fucking same. Like, don't even imagine that it is. Even, like, with boca patties and stuff. Don't even, like, compare it. They're totally different. And then you'll be fine.
I've had some that I think, I mean, they don't taste like high-quality meat, but, like, because, like, Burger King and McDonald's taste like garbage, too, it's like, they're pretty similar. So like I personally I love Gardein burgers, and I like the Beast Burger from Beyond Meat, and I think that those are really comparable to like a hamburger you get at like a fast food joint.
I couldn't do the Beast Burger.
But that's just my opinion.
I tried it once and I went, no.
Okay, why is that?
But to be fair, I've done that with everything Beyond Meat has come out with. For some reason, it just doesn't fit my palate, and I don't. I've heard people say that the longer you've been vegan, the less likely you are to like the palate of Beyond Meat, because it's supposed to mimic meat so closely.
Yeah.
I actually just bought it to try it for the first time. I was going to grill it up some vegan bacon grease and see how that goes.
If I was at like a get-together and they served it to me, I would eat it, but I don't know if I would purchase it for myself. But I would recommend it for other people because I've heard it's so similar.
Yeah.
But I haven't tried the new egg stuff either.
It's good.
For that same reason, because I'm like, I don't know. Just
now, are you talking about the veg, or are you talking about the Follow
egg.
Your Heart egg?
The Follow Your Heart egg.
Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't had it either. Eggs kind of creep me out, like even before I was vegan. So, I've not tried that yet, but I should.
It's pretty good. I can make an omelet with it, which is awesome. I've never been able to do that
Nice.
with tofu scramble. It's like
finally something to replace tofu scramble,
right?
Like,
why? I
vegan's
fucking
worst,
love tofu
worst
scramble.
friend.
I love tofu scramble.
Do you? I enjoy it, but then like you have to take a second to be like, okay, if you were a non-vegan, you would not be into this. It's like it's like tofu like colored yellow from the turmeric. It's like it's not good. It's fun to eat as a vegan because you've reached a point. You eventually reach a point where you're like, oh, tofu with a bunch of veggies, like that's great. But I think like if you were to give this to a meat eater, that would not go over so well. But I think having veg and Follow Your Heart egg coming out, I think that is definitely making some big progress in that realm.
And it's definitely a texture I'm unfamiliar with.
The black salt in it is what would probably kill me, because I tried black salt once in tofu scramble and I couldn't do it.
It's not too bad. I actually added more black salt because I like it. I usually add black salt to my tofu scramble.
The fuck is wrong with you?
But it's not. It doesn't taste like tofu at all. It's I mean, because it's not, but so I was pretty unfamiliar with it. But my wife says it's pretty much just like egg, and so
What is black salt?
So it's salt that has like a sulfur flavor to it. It's mainly like found in like Indian like food stores.
it's a volcanic salt.
So it has like that gross like egg smell to it. So a pinch of it will actually give things an egg flavor. It's used a lot in shitty food that they want to make it flavor like eggs, but there's no real egg in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, mind blown, guys. Nice.
Add it to your tofu scramble if you're looking for an eggy taste to it.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you want that eggy taste, that's totally it.
It's cheap too. If you can find like a Indian market, 99 cents, you can get a pack that'll last you a year.
You gave me 2 packs and I only opened 1. I still have the other one.
Give it back.
So I totally did not intend to spend any time really on food like this.
Yeah,
so
sorry about that.
Hey, vegans,
That's okay.
That's what we do, right?
Oh yeah.
So I'm sure you get asked this all the time, but how the fuck did you what was your path to becoming a paid full-time activist?
Yeah, my path was like many people. They sure as hell didn't get into it for the money, and I basically started volunteering when I was in college. I went to when I was going to Arizona State University. I was there for a couple years, I think like 2011, 2012, and 2010 actually is when I started there. And I started leafletting with some locals there, and I was getting involved in a variety of forms of activism. Leafletting was something that particularly spoke to me, and I just kept at it while I was in college. And I graduated college, and this group called Vegan Outreach had an opening, and they offered it to me, and so I started touring. So basically, and now I work for the Humane League, and I can get to that later if you want. But basically, organizations tend to hire from within their pool of volunteers, and within the pool of volunteers of other organizations. One thing that I always say to people who, are so passionate about animal rights and animal advocacy issues that they want to actually work full time doing this, I recommend volunteering as much as possible and in a variety of advocacy forms and finding out what speaks to you. Maybe leafletting speaks to somebody, and maybe, vegan food demos speaks to somebody else, and just finding out, where your niche is, and pursuing that maybe trying to follow a path into an established organization that way. That is definitely one way.
So you said that leafleting spoke to you. That surprises me, because it's one of the few things that I've always struggled with. So much so my daughter has asked me several times if I could take her leafleting, and I'm kind of like, I don't know. For me, I've always, I always feel like a jerk, if that makes sense, like over imposing. And when I'm at a protest, I'm purposely imposing, so I don't have a problem with it. But leafleting, I don't know, for some reason I've always struggled with it.
Yeah, I hear you. And I've been there too. And I realized, hey, I'm just offering somebody a piece of literature, and they can say yes or no, and that's it. And I go out of my way to be as out of their way as possible. So, I don't get in people's faces and say, hey, take this, read the lies about the factory farm with, what the factory farms are telling you. I'm not, I'm as unpreachy as humanly possible when I'm leafletting. Basically trying to strike a balance between friendliness and assertiveness, and just, especially in that friendliness side of things, just saying, hey, information help animals. I'll smile, make eye contact, and if they say yes or no, that's it. And people can say, the vast majority of people will either just say yes or no. They won't stop to have a conversation. They won't say anything rude. And I found that the hardest leaflet to hand out is the first one. And once you break that, then it's golden. The rest is easy. Something that people might not know about me is like, because I've leafleted a lot, and like sometimes when I get out there, the first leaflet I hand out, I get little butterflies in my stomach. I'm a little bit nervous. I'm like, this is a little awkward, and then I do it, and then I'm like, this is easy, and then I just feel like in my zone, in my game, and I just go for it, and I find that it's it comes a lot easier than I had built up in my head. And not everybody is, like I said, doesn't speak to everybody, especially if you're more on the introverted side of things. But yeah, it's something that I just found to be compelling work.
What about it really draws you in? Is it that it's not super confrontational? Is it that you get to meet a huge variety of people? Is it just what about it really speaks to you?
Well, one, the sheer number of people that you can reach in a given hour of time, with very minimal effort is just sort of astronomical. In a single hour, you can hand out like on a really good day, like let's say 400 pamphlets. So, on that day, or in that 1 hour, 400 people are at least hearing your message, and these people are recognizing that animal issues are important enough for somebody to get out there and stand on a street corner or stand on a college campus and reach out and offer them a brochure about it. And even if they say no, just hearing that in itself, you're making a big statement. And then on top of it, the majority of people, I'd say on average, 50 to 80% of people say yes when you offer them a booklet. So sometimes higher, sometimes lower. And I would say that, say 2/3 of people take them. That's around 250, 300 people taking those. I'm sorry, I said 400 booklets. So those 400 people who are grabbing booklets from you, are now thinking about something that's important to you, and important animals that they otherwise would not have thought of that day at all. So the effectiveness and the sheer number of people that I could reach in a small amount of time was definitely something that I just felt like this is pretty awesome. It was a good opportunity to work on my interpersonal skills and working on how to like frame advocacy in a way that's effective. I'm always trying to improve myself and improve my advocacy and communication. So you're almost able to test that when you're out in the field and speaking to individuals. And then also just like awesome people are out there leafletting. The Humane League we have about 40 employees. We have about I think 11 grassroots offices around the country, and each one of those grassroots offices have a director, and then many volunteers who are out leafletting at the local college campuses around their city, and it's just a great. And they're also doing other forms of advocacy I should mention, but since we're talking about leafletting, I'm just mentioning them. And it's just a fun, effective form of advocacy.
Has there ever been any like studies of like the conversion rate from leaflets? Like how many people are likely to convert to veganism?
Yeah, it's tough. It's a very unique form of, it's not like going out and polling people, would you vote for Donald Trump? Would you vote for Bernie Sanders? Mm-hmm. It's like, you're handing out pamphlets, and then like days or weeks or months or years later, you want to like see if they went veg and if they remember getting a pamphlet. So it's sort of complex. And there's been a few studies out, and and they've shown that it's been pretty effective with the studies that are out there. And so, yeah, I mean, I think Humane League Labs, I believe, has done some studies. I know Farm Sanctuary has done a study. Animal Charity Evaluators has looked into it a bit. So, yeah, it's definitely, I'd say, one of the more effective forms of grassroots outreach, in my opinion.
I read one of the studies. I can't remember which one it was that, and I could be completely off base, but I'm remembering it as it was around 2% of the people that took a pamphlet used that pamphlet in a decision to eat food within that following month. Whether or not they went completely vegetarian or vegan or whatnot was unclear, but they were about 2% were utilizing that to make a decision based off their food choices in like a 30-day period.
Cool. Yeah, yeah, that sounds like very probable. I think that I remember one of the first studies I read, if I remember correctly, and I don't remember the exact numbers or if this is the exact data, but something like every 2 pamphlets handed out equated 1 animal saved per year. So you can break numbers down a ton of different ways, but yeah, I think that it's just something that does definitely feel effective. And if you ask anybody who's gone out there and leafletted, whether that's for like a one-time thing or people who have like toured around the country doing this, like they'll definitely say, I've met lots of people who have been impacted. When I was touring for VO, basically every day on college campus, I would hear from somebody who said, "Oh, I got a pamphlet from you earlier. I think I'm not going to eat meat today, or I'm going to go vegetarian, or oh, I got one of these booklets from you last semester, and I went vegetarian as a result." So definitely lots of anecdotal evidence to show that it's effective work.
Yeah, I can definitely.
And
say that.
I should mention too, while we're talking about efficacy, the Humane League has a branch called the Humane League Labs, and we are always testing the effectiveness of the various forms of outreach that we're doing. So if you're ever feeling like putting your nerd glasses on and really like getting into like the nitty gritty details of how we measure our work and how we can look at what works and what doesn't in terms of animal advocacy, I definitely recommend checking out Humane League Labs.
That's awesome. I was going to say, put my nerd glasses on. I live day to day inside Excel, so.
Nice. Awesome.
No, it's really not that awesome, but.
Well, it is if you're concerned about the effectiveness of, various forms of grassroots outreach or something.
Yeah. I can definitely say the times that I've been at college campuses and music festivals leafleting, it definitely, you see the people there sitting down reading the leaflets, and even that in itself is like, feels good because you know that they're at least reading it, digesting it.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said before, that's not something they probably would have been thinking about that day. And, because you were out there and, reached your arm out and handed somebody a pamphlet, like they're now thinking about that. And, it takes, most people who go vegetarian or vegan don't just see one thing and go vegetarian overnight. Most of the time it's like a slow process over like seeing messages like time after time after time. So maybe they won't go vegetarian from that booklet the day you get it, but maybe they'll see that, then a week later they'll see a commercial about it, and then, maybe in 6 months they'll watch a video about it online, and then they're like, you know what? This does all make a lot of sense. I'm going to go vegetarian. So
it took my mom 15 years, so.
Yeah. Yeah. While we're talking about moms going vegetarian, I should mention too that there's actually a pamphlet talking about animal cruelty that made my mom go vegetarian. We were driving one day. This is like within a year of me going vegetarian, and she, by the way, I should mention that she was like the reason like I felt a bond with animals and consider myself an animal lover. Like I learned it from her, and we were driving down the road one day, and I was driving. She was in the passenger seat, and I was like, "Oh, here, Mom, check out this booklet. Read it while we're driving." and I noticed it's like abnormally quiet for a while, and I look over and I hear my mom sniffling, and she's like, I just can't do it anymore. And she's like, I'm never eating meat again. So she went vegetarian for the last like 6 years of her life or something, and she definitely felt so good about doing that, and so it felt great to be able to do that. And that's the kind of thing that we don't see. Doing grassroots outreach, you don't really see the end result of the work you're doing. So it is nice whenever that does happen.
Yeah, totally. So what kind of led you down the path to being vegan?
Yeah, so long story, I'll shorten it up a bit. I was backpacking around Europe in 2008, and activism had always kind of like, I don't know, struck a nerve with me. I just always felt like I had more purpose to my life than what I was doing, but I really wasn't up to much in terms of being a productive member of society. I was going to college, and I was taking random classes, and I was playing a lot of soccer, which was fun, but it wasn't like contributing to anything in any way. But I knew I had more of a purpose to give, and so I was backpacking around Europe in the summer of 2008, and I was in Finland at some open air market in Helsinki, and I met this guy, and he was selling reindeer meat, and he was just some like dude in his 20s. Seemed like a really cool guy, and I was on a budget, and he's like, "Hey man, why don't you come at the end of the day, and I'll give you a bunch of the whatever doesn't sell." And I'm like thinking, "Hey, first of all, I was not a vegetarian at the time, but I was like, hey, this is gonna be awesome because I'm basically poor and I want to like eat as much free food as possible." So I went back a few hours later, and he gave me like, it must have been like 30 or 40 pounds of like reindeer meat, which sounds weird, but like when you're like on a budget and you're not vegetarian, like, hey, that sounds good. So I ended up hanging out with this guy for a while, and I mentioned the activism thing because I ended up talking to him about activism because he was really into activism, and his particular form of activism and like what he was like into was I thought I was supportive of, but I wasn't like, it didn't really speak to me. But while we were talking about it, I was like, hey man, well, I've always wanted to be an activist too. And he's like, oh, what do you want to do? And I was like, oh, I want to be an animal activist. And he's like, he looked at me kind of dumbfounded for a second. He's like, dude, if you want to be an animal activist, you should probably stop eating animals. And I was like, wow, that's a good point. and and fast forward to so that was so he planted his seed. So I did not go vegetarian initially. So like I mentioned before about how when we're leafletting or doing whatever, like a lot of times we're just planting seeds. He definitely planted a big seed right in the center of my brain. Because a few months later, I thought about it, and I'm like, you know what? I consider myself an animal lover. So it's kind of weird to be eating animals. So I'm going to go vegetarian. So I went vegetarian on principle, not knowing anything about factory farming. And my girlfriend at the time, Rachel Plotz, her and I, we went vegetarian at the same time together, and we were like, well, let's go vegan eventually. So we kind of like spent the next 10 months kind of like weaning ourselves off of animal products, and we were like almost there. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm at the point now, I think I'm ready to kind of expose myself to some new information. So I Googled like about like how animals are being raised, and I stumbled across the film Earthlings, and I watched it at home one day while she was working or at school or something, and like many people, I just broke down in tears, and I thought, how the hell are we doing this? I'm going vegan immediately now. So luckily at that point it was pretty easy because I was already almost there, and I told Rachel, we have to go vegan now, and I think she watched it, and yeah, so we went vegan together, and like I said before, like activism had spoke to me, so I was like, well, I want to get involved with activism now, especially now that I'm vegan. So I think I Google searched like local activism in Phoenix, and I found some local stuff going on, and met my future mentor, Jeff Bogosian, in Phoenix, Arizona, and I started leafletting and doing other stuff, and that was what took me to where I'm at now.
It's really interesting to me that you always had the desire to be an activist before making personal change,
and even an animal activist.
It almost sounds like you just wanted to be working at something, but you didn't know what, right? And I feel like a lot of activists come to it as, oh shit, this is wrong, I need to fix it, right? But it seemed like you went almost the exact opposite way.
Yeah, it is sort of funny because I grew up like people, like if people were like giving an animal a hard time or like wanting to like harass, burn some cricket or something, just some like messed up like stuff that kids do, like I always like spoke up, or at the very least it's like really disturbed by it, and like I knew I wanted to like do what I could to make an impact. And one thing that actually, so another example of a seed that was planted, and this is kind of funny because this actually is a solid connection. Have you guys ever heard of the, I guess, former rapper? He went by his name Faux Knowledge.
Faux Knowledge?
No.
Yeah.
Faux Knowledge?
I don't know.
Uh-huh.
Okay, cool. Well, I stumbled across like his first and probably only album. It must have been a demo. Like, by the way, I'm not from Salt Lake. I'm from Detroit. And I just came across this, and like it must have been like 2006, 2007. It was like a year or two before I went to Europe and all that stuff happened. And he talked about like veganism, and I was like, this is so cool. And so that was like definitely one of the seeds I planted. And he talked about activism a lot, and I was like, activism, like helping animals, like that's what I want to do. And like, so it took all these different like things, like my childhood, like, wanting to speak up for animals, plus my, listening to this album and learning about like, animal activism, and then plus, talking to that guy in Finland, plus Earthlings, that finally was like everything's coming together, everything's connected, and that's what got me to where I was at. So so I definitely think, and I think this kind of speaks to the idea that we shouldn't, we should really come to people where they're at, not where we want them to be. Because although we want everybody to go vegan overnight, like I don't think that's how people work most of the time. I mean, there's definitely like exceptions to that rule, but I think that it is important to recognize that it's a journey for many, and well, I'm not saying don't be somewhat impatient with progress. Definitely have some level of understanding there, even though sometimes it's hard because we're like, oh, being vegan is so easy. So yeah.
That was one of the things I struggled with early on in my activism when I was 17, 18, 19 years old. I was that, in your face, why the fuck aren't you vegan right this second?
Yeah.
And it took me a long while to really grasp that concept, right? But what I also find is also knowing when people need that push, because sometimes people do just need that push. Like that guy was like, hey, if you want to be doing this, you shouldn't be eating animals. Sometimes you need that extra little push, of, hey, if this is what you believe, this is your hypocrisy.
Yeah, I agree. And like doing it in like a non-angry vegan sense, I think is good. So, yeah, like if he would have like screamed at me or something, like, or like, threw paint on me or something, he wouldn't have done this. But like some animal activist would have done something that really turned me off. Like it would not have made me want to come to his side. It would not have made me want to be more like him. It would make me want to be the opposite. And whether that was rational or not is a different story. But I feel like we need to be, we need to come to people like where they are and relate to them in that way.
That's what that mindset is what made me come to the conclusion that a lot of the protests that we hold, I think some of the tactics that we use are more for the protesters than for the animals in a lot of ways, right? Because I
Yeah.
think some of the tactics really turn more people off than bring people towards the movement, or certain tones and certain ways people are approached, they literally shut off hearing and they don't understand the messages. So sometimes, I really think that a lot of those things are counterproductive in certain ways, right?
I agree 100%. Yeah, I think that, going to, you know, wearing all black and chanting doesn't necessarily make people want to say, "Hey, I want to be like that person." I think that we have to be, we have to be aware, like, oh, is the activism that we're doing for the animals or for our ego? And I think that focusing on the animals is what matters. And so, yeah, I'm right on board with you, man.
And like what's hard for me is, like, I always think there's a time and a place. I do believe that sometimes there is the place for, this protest is strictly to have an economic effect on this one business, and you're trying to drive people away, and you're trying to do that. So it's all about, right time, right place for right tactics.
Yeah, totally.
But there is something really cool about being in Black Bloc, by the way, if you've never been in Black Bloc. It's an amazing thing.
Being a what? I'm sorry.
In Black Bloc, in a large a large group where everyone's head to toe in black in a large protest, like a
WTO protest.
I was gonna say, like, the last big one I was in was the 2000 Democratic Convention. We have 300 people, solid black. That solidarity where it's one unified voice. You're supposed to be faceless, nameless, because you're that unity. In those type of situations, it can be very powerful. So
yeah. Oh yeah, I hear you. There are definitely times for it, for sure.
Yeah, but I always find it interesting how activists have a really hard time talking to each other about the effectiveness of tactics in places. How do you approach that with other activists?
Well, if something's cringeworthy, like, I'll bro down with my friends and be like, "Oh my gosh, do you guys see this? Like, this is I think that this is, like, really ineffective, and this kind of, like, hurts that this, some people might think this is effective." And I'll be, like, straight up honest with my friends. And I think that it's it is tough. It's a tough balance because, we all want to be friends, and I mean, the animal advocacy, so few of us are vegan. Then within the vegan community, there's so few of us are animal advocates. Then within the animal advocacy community, we're further splintered. So you're in these, like, little, like, cliques within the movement, and you want to be friends with everybody. You want to be on good terms with everybody, at least. You don't want to be like somebody who, like, everybody hates, or you hate everybody. You think your way is the only way. But it's sort of a tough balance when you think, like, oh, the tactics you're engaging in are really ineffective, or they're really turning people off, or, hey, I understand why you think this is effective and why you think you're being you're being the animal's voice, but in reality, maybe you're doing more harm than good, and maybe you're turning more people off, and maybe you're making a lot of people in the community cringe. So it comes down to if those conversations are happening, like, just being honest about them, and you never want to be cruel, but yeah, I think it's, I guess just honesty, and I guess honesty is the whole gist of what I'm trying to get at. It's just if you're like, hey, do you think what I did at Whole Foods today was effective? And you think it's not effective, like, don't say, "Oh yeah, you're the animal's voice," ... and then never talk about it again. You'd be like, well, maybe you really made people feel like like vegans are nut jobs, and maybe that was an ineffective thing to do. So that's where I come from, at least.
One of the things I love to talk to other activists about is things that we see in the national movement that we would wish we didn't see so much of, as far as like tactics are concerned, and then also things that we wish we saw that we're just not seeing. So, what are those two things for you right now?
Well, one thing that I wish I didn't see as much is just the rush to um, get involved with like what you'd call maybe angry vegan stage. When you go vegan, one of the first stages you're in is this angry vegan stage. You mentioned it earlier.
Yeah, the first 3 years usually.
Yeah, yeah.
Longer
I
for
think
some.
Yeah.
I think that stage, you definitely feel like impassioned and like you finally feel like there's a purpose in your life, and you feel like you scream at the top of your lungs. And I think that's before you're really analyzing the effectiveness of what you're doing. And I think that there are a lot of a lot of people engaging in that angry vegan stage tactics without really analyzing the effectiveness. And part of the reason is because they feel part of a community, which is great that they feel part of a community. But people can do like a lot of things. I'm not talking about vegans or activists, but like if you're part of a community and everybody in the community is doing something, like it could be like the weirdest stuff ever, but if everybody's doing it, like it's not a big deal. And there's actually a TED talk with this woman, and I wish I could remember her name, but she talks about um, how she got this like Fitbit thing, and she started exercising all the time, and like she started and there's this community of other people who had these like Fitbit things, and everybody like if you walked a certain amount of steps, you would get a certain amount of points, and you could buy those points to buy like things like I think in like some digital realm somehow. And there's this community of people doing this around the country, and this woman, she became so obsessed that she wouldn't even go to bed at night. She would just like walk up and down her stairs because like they'd have like these bonus rounds, and they would like wake her up in the middle of the night like with these bonus rounds, and she'd be like, well, I gotta get these, like this is double points, this is triple points, I've got to do it. And what she was doing was like insane and not healthy at all. But she like felt part of this community, and she just got so engaged with this that she wasn't looking at the effectiveness in terms of her health or the effectiveness in was this a healthy community I was part of, but she was just so laser focused on doing this, she was kind of blinded by that communal aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is something that many people can fall into the trap of, which is very understanding because we're vegan and we're like really angry about the fucked up shit going on in factory farms, and so it's understandable that you want to engage in like whatever comes your way and whatever makes you feel so good. But I think it's really important to just look at the effectiveness of what you're doing and get involved with like activism that is focused more around the animals rather than what makes you feel really, really good. So I guess that is something that I would say kind of goes both ways. I wish I saw less of people doing stuff that just made them feel really good rather than what might help animals the most. And then I would like to see more of people looking at the effectiveness of the advocacy they're involved in.
It's funny to me that you bring that up because I know myself and I, Jordan, we've both been pretty frustrated by this. We've talked to quite a few quote unquote newer vegans, and it seems like a lot of them, they come into it with the, like you're saying, this gung-ho attitude. But for some reason, lately, we're getting a lot of the newer activists not understanding the history behind the entire animal rights movement and thinking it's a brand new movement. Like this is a brand new thing that's only been around for the last 2 years. There's no recognition of tactics that have been tried and true, and the history of things and where things have gone, especially when it comes to the history of like state repression and how activists have been treated historically and what they're actually setting themselves up for. And yeah, that really frustrates me as well.
Yeah, I hear you. I totally hear you. Yep.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. If you're brand new to being a vegan activist, I hate to say it, being an activist is not an easy road. Like, be ready for a lot of oppression.
Right. The struggle is real.
Yeah. So when you talk about analyzing effectiveness, what does that mean to you? So what do you think is the most ineffective thing that you see as far as an actual tactic?
Ineffective would be something that common sense tells you turns people off rather than turns people on to whatever idea you are putting forth. I would say that doing something like
you're giving me a very political correct answer. I want names and dates and be like, fuck that person.
we all know
That's
who
funny.
you're talking about anyway. No, it's fine.
I would say, I would say using a bullhorn instead of normal tone of voice is something that is not effective. I think that just communication is just so important when it comes to like getting animals' voice across, and I think that we can do so much better by having normal volume discussion one-on-one with an individual or with a group than by screaming at the top of our lungs or getting in people's faces and really turning people off, especially if those people are like much closer to where we are than the typical American consumer.
So, I know we're getting close to our hour here, but I wanted to talk a little bit more about the Humane League, and it's one of the few organizations that I feel like I don't know very much about. Would you mind like going into that a little bit more, like what you do at the Humane League, what the Humane League is kind of focused on?
Yeah, definitely. We're a nationwide. We're actually an international animal advocacy organization now. We've been around for about 10 years. We really started getting bigger the last 2 or 3 years. Mm-hmm. And now we have a grassroots staff. We have a campaign staff. And yeah, like I said before, we have about 40 employees. I am the director of new media. So my main focus now is I run the Humane League's social media presence, and I also do a few other things, but that's my main gist. And yeah, so I feel good that I'm able to reach a lot of people through social media. I started running social media for another organization while my mom was sick, and it felt great that I was able to still reach a lot of individuals while not being able to like hit the road, travel through Alabama, Montana, Iowa, while still being able to reach people. And so I've carried that over to the Humane League, and I've been running on social media. I've been loosely involved with Humane League for the last several years, but I officially joined them in January of this year. And we have about 11 grassroots offices, as well as we have 2 campaigners in Mexico, and a pretty full campaign staff here in the United States. And we are we're growing pretty rapidly, and we focus primarily on reducing as much animal suffering as possible, and making the world a better place for animals. And we do this primarily through our grassroots outreach and our corporate campaigns. And so we focus on reaching grassroots audience through through leafletting, paper reviews, humane education, and those types of, you know, peer-to-peer outreach through our offices around the country. And then we also work on campaigns to eliminate the worst forms of animal abuse in factory farms. And while we do not think that, while we do not advocate like somebody eating eggs, we don't, we don't eat eggs. We don't say, hey, you should go eat eggs now. And we don't think that cage-free is cruelty-free. But getting large companies to, drop battery cages from their supply chain, for example, is a great way to reduce a lot of suffering for millions of hens. So, for example, we had been working on Kroger for a long time, and finally, about a month ago, Kroger committed to going cage-free. And again, we don't fool ourselves. We don't think cage-free is cruelty-free, but it's basically getting like a hen to go from a level of suffering from like a 10 to like a 6. So that drop in suffering of like 40% for like millions and millions of hens is huge. Like Kroger is a company literally 20,000 times the size of the Humane League, yet we got them to drop battery cages from or commit to dropping battery cages from their supply chain. And so, on one hand, we focus on getting, the worst cruelties out of factory farming, while also promoting a vegan diet and reaching the people, reaching hundreds of thousands, possibly even millions of people every year through our grassroots outreach we do all over.
What's interesting to me is I can't remember who said it, but they were talking about you gotta recognize the state of society is in for any sort of change, whether they're in a point of education, when they're a point of being able to make a change, or they're at a point of being forced to make a change. And focusing on like things like supply chains, I think forces a lot of individuals to make changes that they aren't consciously making by having that eliminated from their like consumerism, like in front of them. They're not purposely making that choice, but that choice is just taken away from them in the hindsight.
Right, exactly. So this is something that makes a difference without people having to make a choice.
Mm-hmm.
So it does take the choice. It does take that that choice of cruelty or a little bit less cruel away from somebody, and just says, hey, we'll take the absolute worst away, and that's nice. Plus, during these campaigns, they often get like a lot of media attention, and data has shown that whenever animal abuse issues are in the, or especially specifically factory farming issues are in mainstream media, meat consumption goes down. So it's like a win-win.
Is there any issue, like an animal advocacy issue, that you hold like a special place to you for? Like for me, fur always holds a special place for me. That's mainly because I grew up around mink farms and things like that. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Well, this is not ineffective. Like this isn't something like I would like talk about when it comes to like being like effective animal advocacy. But like cats hold a really special place in my heart.
Mm-hmm.
Like I grew up with cats, and like my mom had a lot of cats, and I've just always felt this bond with cats, like unlike I've felt with any other animal. And I've always done as much as I can to, get them to avoid suffering, and I've done like a little bit of work on that level with my mom, and that's always held a special place in my heart. But in terms of the work that I do on a regular basis, I try to focus on getting the biggest bang for my hour, the biggest bang for my buck per se, and just try and focus on where I can make the biggest impact. And unfortunately, with the state of society where it is, the current focus would be farm animals, because 99% of the animals killed in this country every year are farm animals. So that's where I try to put my focus for the majority of my time. But yeah, I definitely love cats. Definitely a crazy cat guy.
Well, it looks like we're at an hour already. How can people get in touch with you and also find out more about the Humane League?
Yeah, you can send me an email at joberg@thehumaneleague.com. That's J-O, B as in boy, E-R, G as in go, at thehumaneleague.com. You can also check out our website at thehumaneleague.com. And I also encourage you to read our full-length review on Animal Charity Evaluator's website. For the, I think, fourth year in a row, the Humane League has been named one of the most effective charities, animal charities. So if you would like to read about the work that we do for animals, that would be a great place to check it out.
Well, we end every episode saying fuck, shit, damn. Would you mind saying it for us this week?
Of course, I would love it. Fuck, shit, damn.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much.
This week you heard
Why We Fight by Tortoise.
Right Now you're listening to
Montanita by Ratatat.
Hey, if you want to help out the podcast, best way you can do it, just to help other people find the show, is to rate us on iTunes. Please, go do it if you haven't already. It just helps out the show. It makes it easier for people to find it. They do this weird mathematical algorithm
Science.
Magneto kind of stuff behind the scenes, right?
Telepathy.
Yeah. And then people can find it. They can think, ooh, I'm looking for a semi-okay vegan podcast. And they'll be like, oh, which side? That's the one you want.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know how Google does it when you start to type in something and it finishes it for you?
Mhm.
Same thing.
Same thing. So go rate and review us.
If you're not yet our friend, you should be our friend. Because we're kind of lonely losers and all the friends that we can get, we appreciate. So just, find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Be our friend.
And you will be appreciated.
We'll respond. We're really cool. We respond to, everybody. Because, that's what friends do.
And then we forget to respond to one person. They're like, I guess we're not friends. And then we're like, fuck, we suck.
Yeah, and that's our bad. And I really apologize if we ever, bail on our friendship like that. But don't take it personally. We've just been working a lot. It's stressful.
But we're committed to maintaining and moving it forward, so...
Yeah, just let us know. Hit us up again. Be like, hey, I feel like you're neglecting our friendship. And
we'll be like, cool, you're probably right.
I appreciate that.
And I'll be like, hey, I have, all this shit I have to do. You want to help me with it? Then we can hang out together. And they'd be like, yeah, I'm not really cool with that. And then I'll be like, well, then you're neglecting my friendship. And then we can work it out together.
Spreadsheets.
Yes. God damn it. You have no idea how many spreadsheets I deal with. Fuck shit damn, man. I got to end it there.
Which Side Podcast is hosted and produced by Jordan Halliday and Jeremy Parkin of the Which Side Media Collective, with web design by Jordan Halliday and sound design by Jeremy Parkin. Booking by Mari Halliday. Theme music by Commandantes. Go to whichsidecollective.org to check out the other shows in the collective. As always, fuck shit damn.